The story begins in the year 1965. The Civil War going on in America was now nearing its end. At that moment, we see a captain holding a gold coin in his hand. He was having several boxes filled with such coins loaded onto a ship. The boxes had CSA written on them. Suddenly, they were attacked. But the captain quickly launched the ship into the water and shut off all the engines so that no one would notice his ship in the darkness. And that's exactly what happened. They managed to escape from the enemies. Now the story moves to the present day, where Dr. Sophia is sitting in a WHO van. This van is currently in the city of Las Vegas, Africa. A disease has started spreading rapidly in this city. Upon examining a new patient, it was found that he too had the same illness, about which they still don't understand anything. The patient's mother said that a few days ago, he had gone to Mali with his father, and after returning from there, he ended up in this condition. Sophia seated the patient in the van and told her senior that, including this one, the total number of cases has now reached 6. We should quickly hand this file over to the WHO. But her senior believed that with so few cases, no one would help them. Now Sophia wanted to go to Mali to find out what was causing people to fall ill there. At that time, Mali was in the midst of a civil war, and her senior said that no one would give her permission to go to such a dangerous place under those circumstances. Meanwhile, a masked man was keeping an eye on them. Maybe he doesn't like these doctors coming here. Just then, Sophia realized that she should also take a sample from the patient's father. After that, Sophia headed towards the lighthouse where he was working. When Sophia arrived, she saw that he was in exactly the same condition as his son had been. In fact, he had already lost his life to this disease. Sophia quietly took his sample and came outside. Meanwhile, a man was boating in the nearby sea, and the masked man who had been watching the doctors from a distance suddenly attacked Sophia. But the man who was boating arrived just in time and saved Sophia. But during the scuffle, the masked man ran away with Sophia's bag. When Sophia regained consciousness, she was on a ship called Noma, which belongs to treasure hunters searching the sea. Outside was the same man who had saved Sophia's life. This man came out holding a valuable statue he had found in the sea. Actually, these people want to find that same CSA ship, but so far, there hasn't been any clue about it. Just then, Almora, who is the owner of this ship, arrived there. The man who saved Sophia is named Doug. Almora told Doug that the treasure they had found needed to be put on display at the museum party happening that night, so he should get it cleaned quickly. After that, Doug went to talk to a Nigerian dealer. At the party, that priceless statue was shown to everyone. This is actually the tomb of an African king whose the value would be in the thousands of crores of rupees. Doug quickly reached that dealer, and there the dealer showed Doug a coin on which CSA was written. Doug immediately took the coin and said that this has been his dream for years. To this day, no one knows where that ship disappeared. At the party, the owner of Mascot Company is also present, the one who had invested money in the treasure hunt. This man has quite a few good connections in the country, so Sophia asked him for help. To get there, the company owner said that going there is very dangerous, but if she still wants to go, he will try to find a way. After a while, Doug also arrived there and showed James the CSA coin. He also mentioned that this coin was found by a man living in Mali, and Doug believes that the wreckage of that ship must also be somewhere in Mali. James was very happy to hear this and gave Doug and Almora permission to go to Mali for 3 days. There, they would do their best to find the ship, and if they found even the slightest clue, a full-scale operation to search for the ship would begin. The next day, when they reached the port, Sophia and Dr. Jack were already there. Sophia told Doug that James had said she and Dr. Jack could also go with them to Mali, and then the 5 of them set off for Mali. While having dinner at night, Doug told Sophia about the coin and also that finding this ship had been his childhood dream. As soon as they reached Mali, Sophia and Jack went their own way, and Doug and the others went to the house of the man who had found the coin. When they reached his house, they found out that the man had died. Once again, his path to reaching the ship was blocked. Just then, Doug spotted a mosque nearby. The 3 of them went there and met a man. Often, such religious places keep old records. When Doug asked, a man there checked the old records. It was then discovered that years ago, a ship had arrived at the port there, but no one on board had survived, and the current was so strong that the ship was swept further ahead. This information was going to be very useful for Doug. He immediately went to James and told him everything. Without wasting any time, they started heading towards the city of Jav, which was a little further ahead from there. On the way, they found something in one part of their boat. After a bit of investigation, they discovered that it was a special kind of soil which could also be rust. But Doug said that finding this kind of soil in flowing water is not a common thing. This was something to think about. Just then, a military boat suddenly started coming towards them. The officers kept asking the same question over and over. Where is the doctor who came here with you? The king here had already found out that 2 foreign doctors had come to his country to get to the root of the disease that was spreading in the area. The king had ordered that they be stopped as soon as possible, otherwise there could be serious trouble. Doug realized that something was definitely wrong, otherwise why would they have a problem with the doctor? Doug replied, "Sir, we don't know much English, so let's pull the boat to the side and talk." Doug turned towards them. They threw a rope which they tied to their boat. After that, Doug signaled his friends to go full speed, and in one swift move, the officer's boat capsized. Doug quickly cut the rope as well, and then they all escaped from there. But the trouble wasn't over yet. Just a short distance away, 2 more boats were waiting for them, and as soon as they saw them, they started shooting. Doug realized that now they would have to jump off the boat, otherwise there was no way they'd survive. Before jumping, they slashed the fuel tank so there would be a massive explosion. When the other boat got close, all 3 of them jumped into the water. The officers fired at the boat, and because of the leakage, there was a massive explosion in which all the policemen were killed. Soon the 3 of them got out of the river and reached a house on the shore. Rudy asked Doug, "Now that we don't even have a boat, are we going to stop looking for the ship?" Doug said that they would look for it later. First we have to save those doctors' lives. If they get caught by them, both will be killed. Doug told Rudy to quickly cross the border and go near Almora, and he himself set out with James to find both doctors. There, both doctors reached a village where not a single person could be seen. They searched a lot, but there was silence everywhere. Sophia found dead bodies of people in one house, and all of them had died from the same disease. As soon as morning came, both of them buried all the bodies. Meanwhile, Rudy also crossed the border secretly. Sophia found a well in the village and thought that maybe she would find something inside, so she started preparing to go down. When she reached the bottom and began to take a water sample, Jack informed her that some military men had arrived above, and then the sound of gunfire was heard, and except for Jack, they killed everyone else. Inside the well, Sophia hid, frightened. Just then, a helicopter landed there, and Kazim, the king of Mali, arrived. Kazim asked Jack, "Where is the lady doctor?" Hearing the sound of the chopper, Doug and James also realized that the doctor must be nearby, but Kazim was very angry. He shot Jack and ordered his men to find Sophia as quickly as possible. Doug and James were hiding nearby, watching everything unfold. Kazim's men started killing everyone around. At one point, Doug's life was in danger too, but Sophia came from behind and killed Kazim's man. Sophia was deeply shocked by the death of her senior doctor Jack. But Doug said that they needed to leave as soon as possible because this place was not safe at all. Now, the 3 of them escaped from Kazim's military area and reached another place. But the place they arrived at was even more dangerous. Just then, some horsemen arrived, captured the 3 of them, and took them to their king, Godigo. Godigo asked them, "What have you come here to do?" Sophia explained, "I am a doctor, and I am investigating a disease that has spread in your area." Upon hearing the word disease, she was taken to a room where countless people had already died from the same illness. After examining them, Sophia confirmed that yes, all of them had died from the same disease. To find out the cause of this very disease, Gordico gave them all permission to live in his city. After this, when Sophia tested the water there, she found out that the water in that place had become poisonous, and this couldn't have happened naturally. Something must have been deliberately mixed into this water. She told the king about this and asked where the poison in the water was coming from. "We have to find out about this." The king agreed and said, "Find out as soon as possible. I'll help you as much as I can." After that, James was playing football with the local children. When the ball rolled a bit further, he chased after it and ended up in a strange place. There were unusual paintings at this place, and the surprising thing was that these paintings depicted the very ship they had come searching for. It turned out that the ship was buried right there somewhere in the dry desert. Sophia and Doug also came there to see it. Doug explained that 200 years ago there used to be a river at this place, but now that river has dried up. Now all 3 of them started preparing to search for the river. They were just making plans to find the river when they noticed a fort depicted in the painting. This means there was also a fort near the river, and Doug believes that the poisonous water coming into the village might be from that same river. The river might not be completely dry, its water could still be flowing underground. Now, the 3 of them began their journey towards the river, along the path where 200 years ago the river used to flow. Soon they also spotted the fort. After climbing up the fort, they saw a solar plant which belonged to the mascot company. but it made no sense for a solar plant to be in such a deserted place. Doug saw a train at some distance. They slowly made their way toward the train and cleverly snuck inside. Meanwhile, Rudy had now reached near Almora. Rudy found the same red rust sample on his clothes that he had found on his boat in Mali. When Rudy tested the sample and showed the results to Almora, he was shocked to see them. Meanwhile, Sophia, James and Doug had made their way inside the plant. Once inside, they realized that this plant was working to produce a radioactive chemical which would be ready very quickly due to the intense sunlight present here. Just then, Sophia noticed some containers being taken underground. The three of them followed the man, and when the basement door opened, they were left stunned. In this basement, thousands of tons of radioactive and toxic chemicals had been stored for years. Some containers were visibly leaking, and it seemed that the chemicals were seeping into the Nirja river flowing underground. And the entire country of Mali drinks water from this river. This is the reason why the disease is spreading so rapidly. There, Almora and Rudy went to the US Embassy with the report. Even the man at the US Embassy couldn't believe that something like this could be possible after seeing the report. Meanwhile, James was trying to escape from the plant with his friends when Mascot's people caught them. Mascot asked Sophia, "What are you people doing here and how did you find out about this place?" Sophia told Mascot that whatever you are doing in this plant is costing people their lives. To this, Mr. Mascot replied that he wasn't doing anything like that. In fact, they were burning toxic chemicals in the fire to destroy them. Sophia told him that the chemicals he had stored in the basement were leaking into the river and people were getting sick after drinking the water. Hearing this, even Mr. Mascot became frightened, wondering if it could be true. Now, they tied up Doug and James and started taking them somewhere. Doug used his wits and, with the help of the gold coin, unlocked the back door of the truck, allowing them to separate from the truck. Mr. Mascot quickly met Kazim and told him everything that Sophia had shared with him. Kazim said that if he's worried, he can shut down the plant, but Kazim must still receive his money every month. He doesn't care if people die. Doug and James were now wandering in this desert. Their hands were still chained to the truck's door. Bound like this, they walked quite a distance. After walking for a long time, they too had lost their strength. But then, in the middle of the road, they found a crashed plane. However, the tires of this plane were still intact. Somehow, by gliding the plane over the sand, they managed to ride it and eventually reached a village. Here, they found a telephone, so they called Almora and told the whole story. Doug sold the gold coin and bought a jeep. Taking this jeep, Doug and James went to Godbard and asked his men for help so they could all fight Kazim together. But Godbard didn't have enough men, nor did he have big weapons like Kazim. That's why Godbard refused to fight. But he gave them his vehicle, which Godbard had bought from Kazim. Taking this car, James and Doug reached the plant. But there, they were stopped right at the gate. Both of them forced their way inside at gunpoint, and Mascot realized that someone had broken in, after which he immediately went to the upper section. As soon as Doug and James went inside, they were surprised to see that the entire plant had been emptied. So James said that maybe Mascot has become convinced that people are dying because of him and that this news must have reached America. That's why he wants to erase every trace of this plant. James quickly went downstairs to look for the explosives that they might be using to try to blow up the plant. Just then, a helicopter landed there. Mascot forcibly took Sophia and got into it. They were just about to leave when Doug arrived. Doug had almost caught Mascot, but just then one of Mascot's men came from behind and stopped Doug. Meanwhile, Sophia managed to jump out of the helicopter in time. Down below, James found the bomb in a container and took it out, putting it in his bag. Meanwhile, Mascot, sitting in the chopper, used his program to turn the solar plant towards the sun. Now all the solar panels started working at full speed. But thanks to James's skills, there was no explosion. It didn't happen because James had already disconnected the bomb. Mascot was furious when he saw this. Sophia and Doug got rid of Mascot's man, and then the three of them got into the car and drove away from there. Because they still had to get far away from here. But just then, Kazim's helicopter started chasing them. Kazim started firing bullets at them from above. Doug told James to start throwing out all the explosives he had found in the basement. When James did this, explosions kept happening wherever Kazim's bullets hit. So much smoke and dust rose up that Kazim had to turn his helicopter away. But because of these explosions, something happened that they had never expected. The sand shifted from that spot and the ship that was buried underneath surfaced. As soon as they saw the ship, all three of them hid inside it. But Kazim found out and once again started firing at the ship. Many of Kazim's men arrived there and surrounded them from all sides. Because of the attacks on the ship, the containers inside burst open and gold coins started spilling out. Seeing this, Doug couldn't believe that these coins were still intact. Just then, they found an old cannon inside the ship that was still in pretty good condition. Now they started preparing to fire the cannon. As soon as Kazim's helicopter came into their sights, they fired the cannon. There was a massive explosion in the helicopter in which Kazim was killed. After that, Kazim's entire army also surrendered. The three of them came outside and were completely shocked as to why such a large army had surrendered to them. But just then they turned around and saw that Godgo's men were standing all around, surrounding them from every side. Meanwhile, in America, an undercover agent who had learned about all these activities deliberately mixed the same poison into Mascot's drink that he was giving to the people of Mali, and soon he too would meet the same fate that he had inflicted on others. In the end, we see Doug and Sophia together. Doug had left the treasure for Godgo and his people because they suffered the most from this disease, and since it is their land, they rightfully deserve the treasure. If you liked the video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.